On our anniversary, I braved the pouring rain to bring a warm meal to Ryan, who had just come out of surgery. But once again, he disappeared, nowhere to be found. Out of habit, I opened the social feed of Emily, the goddess of his department. Her post read, "My boyfriend is really amazing." I said, "I got a splinter in my hand," and he immediately dropped everything to come to me. He personally pulled it out and even bandaged me up. How can a good man like this already belong to someone else? In the photo, Ryan was leaning down, holding surgical tweezers, carefully removing a tiny wooden splinter from the tip of her finger. Under the warm light, his focused and gentle expression was so tender, it made my heart ache. I couldn't keep lying to myself anymore. Silently, I threw the lunchbox into the trash and sent him a breakup message. A while later, one of his friends texted me. Ryan said, "You're making a big deal out of nothing. When girls get upset, just buy them a bag and it'll be fine." But he would never understand. What I wanted was never a handbag. It was love. I once gave him my whole heart. But when that love faded, he didn't even care enough to comfort me. The rain kept falling, tapping hard against my phone screen until everything blurred. I stared at the photo on Emily's page again. Ryan's side profile looked more captivating than ever. A splinter, a tiny wooden splinter barely visible, was enough to make a senior surgeon drop everything and rush to her. Yet on our 5th anniversary, he couldn't even bother to show up. I could almost picture Emily pouting in that sweet, pitiful way of hers, while Ryan, the man who always told me, "Don't be childish, I'm busy," would be overflowing with tenderness toward her. In that moment, the last string in my heart finally broke. I slipped my phone into my pocket, walked over to a trash can by the street, and without a second thought, tossed the still warm meal inside. The smell of braised pork mixed with the damp scent of rain hit my nose, making me nauseous. I had booked a hotel room near his hospital a week ago, just so he could have a hot meal after a long shift. Thinking back now, it all felt like a cruel joke. I wiped the rain from my face, pulled out my phone, and opened our chat. Without a single word of reproach or complaint, I typed just 6 words, "Ryan, let's break up." Then I turned on airplane mode. The world instantly fell silent. I didn't want to hear any explanations or see any question marks from him. 5 years. Every time he broke his own rules for Emily, every time he told me she was just his little sister who needed to be cared for, I chose to believe him. It wasn't because I was stupid. It was because I still loved him and was willing to deceive myself. But hearts grow cold. Even someone pretending to sleep will eventually wake up. When I got back to the hotel, I peeled off my drenched clothes and took a scorching hot shower. Water streamed down my body, but I couldn't feel any warmth. I looked at my disheveled reflection in the mirror and suddenly laughed. "Mia. Oh, Mia," I whispered to myself. "You really are a fool. You thought you were his safe harbor, but you were just a temporary stop. He only came by once in a while. Emily, she's the ocean he truly belongs to." I began to pack my things, though there wasn't much to take. Just a few changes of clothes. Everything else belonged to the hotel. I took off every gift he had ever given me. The necklace he bought with his first paycheck, the matching bracelets we chose together. I placed them neatly on the nightstand. When I turned off airplane mode, several unread messages popped up. All from Ryan. "What's wrong with you now? I'm busy. Stop making a scene. Mia, answer me. What do you mean by that? Explain yourself." Staring at those cold, heartless words, I felt nothing but emptiness. He didn't even realize he was the one who had done something wrong. He only thought I was making a fuss. I opened the smart lock app on my phone, found the guest access settings, and changed the code to a temporary password valid for 24 hours. Then I sent it to Ryan along with another breakup message. "I'll come by at 10 a.m. tomorrow to pack my things. This is the temporary password. We're done." Once I finished, I blocked him everywhere. WeChat, phone, everything. I was afraid that if I saw even one more message from him, I'd soften again. But this time, I didn't want to leave myself any way back. I lay on the bed, staring up at the ceiling, unable to sleep the entire night. Tomorrow would be a new day, a day without Ryan. The next morning, at exactly 9:50, I stood in front of the door to what used to be our home. I didn't use my fingerprint. I entered the temporary code instead. The door opened, and Ryan's leather shoes were tossed carelessly by the entrance. Next to them sat the pair of slippers I used to neatly place for him. Everything looked the same as when I left, and yet it wasn't. The living room was empty. The bedroom door was shut tight. I didn't want to see him. I just wanted to pack quickly and get out of this suffocating place. I pulled a few large suitcases from the storage closet and quietly began to gather my things. My clothes, my books, my makeup, everything that still carried traces of me. I wasn't going to leave a single thing behind. Halfway through packing, the bedroom door opened. Ryan came out in his pajamas, his hair a messy tangle. The moment he saw the half-packed suitcases and me crouching on the floor, his face darkened. "Mia, what the hell are you doing?" I didn't look up. I kept stuffing a stack of books into the suitcase, my tone calm, almost detached. "Moving out. We've broken up. I already told you." Ryan strode over, grabbed the book from my hand, and threw it onto the floor. "Told me? You just said one sentence. Let's break up, and that's supposed to count as notice. Did I agree to it?" His voice was from sleep, edged with anger he couldn't control. Finally, I looked up and met his eyes. They were bloodshot, his jaw rough with stubble, his whole face exhausted. But inside me, there wasn't a single ripple of emotion, not even pity. "Ryan, I'm not asking for your permission," I said evenly. "It's already happened. That's the truth." He gave a short, incredulous laugh, like I'd said the most ridiculous thing in the world. "All this because I didn't celebrate our anniversary with you? Since when did you become so childish, Mia? How many times have I told you? My job keeps me busy. I have surgeries back to back. It's not that I don't want to be with you. I just don't have the time. Time's like water in a sponge. If you squeeze, there's always some." I bent down, picked up the fallen book, and brushed off the dust. "It's not that you don't have time, Ryan," I said quietly. "You just don't have time for me. You had time to pull a tiny wooden splinter out of Emily's finger, but not enough to see me." His expression froze, the anger on his face quickly giving way to guilt and unease. "How did you know about that?" he muttered. "If you don't want people to know," I said, zipping up the suitcase, "then don't do it. I'm not interested in playing detective, but Emily loves showing off on her social feed. Even if I didn't want to know, it'd be impossible not to." I stood the suitcase upright and looked him straight in the eye. "Yesterday was our 5th anniversary. I made your favorite braised pork, stood outside the hospital in the rain for an hour waiting for you. And what were you doing? Being all gentle and attentive, helping the light of your life with her deadly splinter. Tell me, Ryan, does that seem right to you?" His face shifted. Guilt, shame, then anger born from humiliation. All this just because of something so trivial. "Mia, do you have to overreact like this? Emily is all alone in Southport with no one to rely on. She's clueless about everything. He's her senior," Ryan said sharply. "What's wrong with looking after her a little? She got a splinter in her hand. If she didn't ask me, who else was she supposed to call? I'm a doctor, Mia. Who better to help? Don't be so petty." "Okay." I let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Ryan, put your hand on your heart and tell me, was this really the first time?" I didn't give him a chance to speak. "She got stomach pains in the middle of the night, and you drove across the city to bring her medicine. Her laptop broke, and you ditched dinner with my parents to go fix it. She said she wanted to go to a concert, and you stayed up all night lining up for tickets, then turned around and told me you had to work an overnight shift. Every single time you told me she was just your little sister, that I was being petty, unreasonable. Fine. Maybe before I really was petty and unreasonable, but not anymore. Now I'm setting you both free. I'm giving her all your time, your attention, your heart. Isn't that what you wanted?" Every word I said landed like a hammer blow on his chest. He opened his mouth but couldn't find a single word to refute me because everything I said was true. Every one of those things had happened. He just thought I didn't know or that I wouldn't care. Ryan's tone softened. He reached out to grab my wrist, his expression strained. Mia, I admit I've done some things wrong. I've neglected your feelings. Don't be angry anymore, okay? Let's just talk properly this time. Don't keep saying break up every time we fight. I pulled my arm away and stepped back, putting distance between us. Ryan, do you know what the funniest thing is? Even now, you still think I'm just mad. You think this is like all the other times where you coax me, buy me a gift, say a few sweet words, and I forgive you. But it's not. This time is different. I looked at the man I had loved for 5 years and felt an unfamiliar sense of detachment. I'm not angry, Ryan. I'm done. I'm exhausted. I don't want to keep guessing whether you're really in surgery or just using it as an excuse. I don't want to check someone else's social media to see how amazing you were at being their boyfriend today. Letting go of you is also letting go of myself. When I finished, I didn't look at him again. I grabbed the packed suitcase and walked toward the door. Suddenly, Ryan's hand clamped around my wrist from behind, his grip frighteningly tight. If you dare walk out that door today, he said through clenched teeth, then we're really done. I didn't turn around. My voice was cold and steady. Ryan, we were already done yesterday. I yanked my hand free, opened the door, and walked away without looking back. Behind me, his angry shout echoed down the hallway, but I didn't stop. When the elevator doors slid shut, I saw him still standing there, disbelief written all over his face. Dragging 3 heavy suitcases, I flagged down a moving truck at the apartment gate. The driver helped load my luggage and asked where I was headed. I gave him the address of a short-term rental I had already found days before. As the truck began to move, I looked out the window. The familiar streets slipped by, fading quickly from view. The apartment complex where I had lived for 5 years grew smaller and smaller until it finally disappeared completely. I didn't cry. I just felt an empty, aching hollow open wide in my chest. When I reached the new place, a small 1-bedroom apartment about 400 square feet, it was modest but tidy and clean. I unpacked everything piece by piece, arranging it neatly in the new space. My mind felt blank, mechanical, as if I were a robot following preset commands. Only after everything was in order did I collapse onto the couch. That was when the exhaustion and bitterness hit me all at once like a rising tide. My phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment, then answered, "Hello, Mia." A familiar but unwelcome voice came through. "It's me, Trevor Young." Trevor, Ryan's closest friend, one of the people who had witnessed our entire relationship from the beginning. "What is it?" I asked flatly. He gave a strange little laugh on the other end. "Mia, what happened between you and Ryan? He called me this morning. He looks completely lost. Didn't you two just have another fight? Why make it such a big deal this time?" "No, Trevor," I said clearly, enunciating each word. "We're not fighting. We broke up." "Broke up? You're kidding, right?" Trevor's tone was full of disbelief. "Ryan already told me everything. Isn't this all just because he didn't spend your anniversary with you? He said he knows he was wrong and asked you not to stay mad. He told me you were just overreacting. You know how girls get emotional sometimes. It's normal. He even said he'd buy you a new purse later to make it up to you. Everything will be fine." "A purse?" I repeated, and a bitter laugh escaped my throat. So that was how they saw it. My sadness, my disappointment, my decision to walk away, just an overreaction, something that could be solved with a shopping trip. In their eyes, all the love I'd given him, all those years of trust and patience were worth no more than a handbag. "Trevor," I said, my voice cold as ice, "do me a favor and tell him something for me. Tell Ryan that what I wanted was never a purse. It was love. I gambled my whole heart on the hope that he'd choose me, that he'd love me just once with the same sincerity I loved him. But he couldn't give me that. Maybe he can give it to Emily. As for comforting me, it's too late. When love is gone, he no longer has the right to comfort me." "Mia, what the hell are you even talking about?" Trevor's voice was uneasy, but I didn't wait for him to finish. I hung up. Then I opened a food delivery app and ordered an extra spicy hot pot, double the usual spice. I wanted the burning heat on my tongue to drown out the bitterness in my chest. After I finished eating, my phone rang again. This time it was my mother. My heart skipped a beat. I knew right away Ryan must have told her something. "Mia," she said the moment I answered, her voice full of worry. "What happened between you and little Ryan?" "He called me today, nearly crying, saying you're breaking up and already moved out. Weren't you two doing so well?" "Mom," I said quietly, "we broke up." "Broke up? Why?" Her voice rose in alarm. "Did Ryan do something to upset you? Tell me and I'll scold him for you. Every couple argues, sweetheart. You can't just say break up every time something happens. You'll ruin your relationship like that." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "Mom, it's not an argument. He just doesn't love me anymore. I can't keep living like that." "What nonsense are you saying?" she snapped. "Ryan treats you so well. Everyone can see that. He has a good job. He's ambitious, respectful to your father and me. Don't be foolish. Go home, apologize, and fix this." "Apologize?" I let out a soft, weary laugh. Why should I be the one to apologize? A heavy wave of exhaustion washed over me. It hit me then. No matter what happened, in everyone's eyes, I was always the one at fault. I was the unreasonable one, the dramatic one. The better Ryan looked in their eyes, the easier it was for them to dismiss my pain. "Mom, please don't worry about this anymore," I said finally. "I know what I'm doing." I didn't want to explain further. It wouldn't matter. They wouldn't understand. "You stubborn girl," she scolded, her voice rising. "Why are you always like this?" Before she could finish, the doorbell rang. I froze. My heart stopped for a beat. I glanced through the peephole. It was Ryan. He had found me. How did he even know where I was? Then I remembered the real estate agent for this apartment was a mutual friend. Of course, I didn't open the door. I didn't make a sound. I just stood there quietly listening. The doorbell kept ringing over and over. Each chime stabbed through the silence like needles. "Mia, open the door." His voice came through, rough with impatience. "I know you're in there. Let's talk." Talk about what? So he could repeat the same words he'd said yesterday and the day before and the day before that. I leaned my back against the door and closed my eyes. The world spun for a moment. "Mia," he shouted again, his voice sharper now, laced with frustration. "If you don't open this door, I swear I'll break it down." I couldn't help it. I laughed. So, this was what he called talking. I unlocked the door and opened it, looking him straight in the eye with an icy calm. His hair was even messier than that morning, his eyes bloodshot. The moment he saw me, he let out a small sigh of relief, reaching out as if to pull me closer. "Let's go inside and talk." I shifted to the side, blocking the doorway. "No, we'll talk here. There's nothing inside I need to discuss with you. Say whatever you came to say, and then please leave." My coldness and distance seemed to ignite something in him. Whatever trace of gentleness he had a moment ago vanished without a trace, replaced by wounded pride and anger. "Mia, do you really have to be like this?" he snapped. "I've already lowered myself to come find you, and you're still acting this way. All this over one small thing. You're really going to throw away 5 years of love just because of that?" "The one who destroyed our relationship wasn't me, Ryan," I said clearly, meeting his eyes. "It was you. Every time you ran to Emily, every time you put her before me, you were the one tearing us apart. And as for lowering yourself, that's not humility. It's just your ego. You're not upset because you love me. You're upset because the spare tire that always fixed your messes and forgave you unconditionally isn't under your control anymore." "Spare tire?" he repeated as if the words were poison. His face twisted, hurt and disbelief written all over it. I looked at him emotionless. "Isn't that what I've always been to you, Ryan? Go on, tell me. Can you honestly say you love me? You love the girl who always listens to you, treats you like her whole world, lets you play the hero for Emily out there, and still keeps your home warm for you when you come back. What you love isn't me, Ryan. It's the comfort I gave you, the convenience, the stability. You love the role I played, not the person I am. My words struck like blades, and for once, he was speechless. His mouth opened and closed, but nothing came out. After a long pause, he finally managed, "That's not true, Mia. You and her, you're not the same to me." "You're right," I said, nodding slowly. "We're not the same. I'm the girlfriend you show off when it suits you. She's the scar you keep hidden in your heart. I'm the meal you eat every day, filling, dependable, eventually tasteless. She's the medicine you can't take often, but without her, you'd fall apart." I took a step closer, my voice calm but cutting. "Ryan, I don't want to be your meal anymore. I want to live like a real person." We stood there, tension thick between us until his phone suddenly rang. He instinctively pulled it out, and I immediately saw the name flashing across the screen. Emmy, the intimate nickname burned into my eyes like a hot needle. Ryan froze, his hand tightening around the phone, torn between answering and declining. He looked utterly lost. I laughed, the sound sharp and bitter, my eyes stinging with unshed tears. "Look," I said, "your medicine is calling. She's probably feeling unwell again. Or maybe she needs her superhero to rescue her. Go on, Ryan. Don't keep her waiting. After all, she's helpless without you, isn't she?" I made sure to emphasize every word. His face flushed red, then turned pale. He looked from his phone to me, conflict flickering in his eyes. "Why don't you answer it?" I taunted. "What's wrong? Afraid I'll hear or afraid she'll find out you're still tangled up with your crazy ex who always overreacts?" "Mia, stop being unreasonable," he exploded, finally losing control. He shouted, then quickly pressed the answer button. But as the call connected, he covered the microphone and lowered his voice. "I'm busy right now. I'll call you back later." He hung up almost immediately and looked back at me, his face drawn, eyes full of fatigue and helplessness. "Do you really have to push things this far, Mia? You were never like this before." "No," I said, staring straight at him, my tone calm and steady. "The old Mia wasn't like this. If this had been before, I would have quietly stepped aside when he got that call, pretended not to notice, maybe even helped him come up with an excuse. But that version of Mia had died in the pouring rain yesterday. The woman standing in front of him now was someone entirely new. Someone who no longer wanted to swallow her pride, who no longer wanted to live her life for him. "Ryan," I said evenly, "we're over. Go and don't come looking for me again." Before he could say another word, I slammed the door shut and turned the lock. From outside came the pounding of his fists and his furious voice shouting my name. I leaned against the door, slowly slid down until I was sitting on the cold floor, my head buried in my knees. This time, I finally cried, not out of heartbreak, but as a late farewell for the version of me who had lived for him for so long. The banging and shouting went on for what felt like forever before it finally quieted. I didn't know when Ryan left, only that I kept sitting there motionless, letting the tears fall freely. When I finally stood, my legs were numb and tingling. I stumbled to the window and pulled the curtain aside. His car was gone. He had really left. That realization brought both relief and an aching emptiness. 5 years of love had ended in the ugliest way possible. In the days that followed, I erased every trace of my old life. I changed my phone number, snapped the old SIM card in half, and threw it away. I left every chat group that had anything to do with him, deleted all our mutual friends, and wiped every contact that could tie me back to him. It was ruthless, but necessary. I needed a clean slate, an environment untouched by the past to start over. I began looking for work again. After graduating, I had taken an easy administrative job so I could take care of Ryan, but the pay had never been good. Now, I decided to return to my field, interior design. That morning, I updated my resume, organized the old sketches from college, and began sending applications online. My days quickly filled with purpose. I spent my mornings running from one interview to another, and my nights hunched over my laptop, studying new design trends and learning new software. I had no time to think about Ryan anymore. No time to feel sad. Being busy truly was the best medicine for healing. A week later, I received an interview notice from a well-known design firm in the city. The interviewer was a sharp, confident woman named Miss Taylor. She examined my portfolio carefully and asked several technical questions. I was nervous but did my best to explain my ideas clearly and show what I could do. When the interview ended, Miss Taylor gave me a small, assessing smile. "Mia, your foundation is solid and your ideas are creative," she said. "But since you've been away from the field for a few years, we'll need to see your determination and potential. We currently have a project with high client expectations and a very tight schedule. We'd like to offer you a chance to join as a design intern. If you can prove yourself through this project, we'll bring you on full-time. Are you willing to take that on?" It was both a challenge and an opportunity. I didn't hesitate for a second. "Yes," I said firmly. "Thank you, Miss Taylor. I promise I won't let you down." When I stepped out of the building, sunlight spilled across the street, warm and bright. I took a deep breath, feeling alive again for the first time in a long while. I had found a new goal, a new direction. My life would no longer revolve around a man. To celebrate, I went to the biggest shopping mall in the city, not to browse handbags, but to head straight to the computer store of a well-known brand. I used the savings I'd been keeping for years to buy myself a high-end design laptop, the best model available. When I swiped my card, an unexpected rush of satisfaction filled me. Trevor once said, "Ryan wanted to buy me a purse to make peace." But today, I finally understood something. Earning your own money and buying what you truly need feels 1,000 times better than waiting for someone else to throw you scraps. Cradling my brand new laptop, I walked out of the mall. My phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Thinking it might be an interview call from one of the companies I'd applied to, I answered right away. "Hello." The line was silent for a few seconds and then a voice I never expected came through. "Mia, it's me, Emily." The moment I heard her voice, my heart dropped. How did she even get my new number? Then it hit me. These days, if someone really wants your contact information, it's not hard to find. My tone turned cold, flat, completely void of emotion. "What do you want?" Emily let out a soft laugh on the other end, the smug sound of someone who believed she'd already won. "Nothing serious," she said lightly. "I just wanted to talk. I heard you and Ryan broke up and that you've already moved out." "You're quick with the news," I replied evenly. "Of course," she said, her voice dripping with pride. "After all, Ryan and I spent almost every day together." The way she said it made my skin crawl. "Mia," she continued with fake sympathy that only made her sound more condescending, "I actually admire you. You know, you managed to endure for so many years. Did you know that 5 years ago, Ryan confessed his feelings to me? Back then, we were the couple everyone thought would end up together." My grip on the phone tightened. I'd heard whispers of that story before, that Emily had rejected Ryan to chase a rich heir abroad, only to come back after things didn't work out. I had entered Ryan's life during the lowest point of his career when he was lost and heartbroken. "So," I asked quietly, "are you telling me this to prove something? That the person he really loves is you? That I was just the stand-in?" I let out a short, humorless laugh. "Congratulations. You've proven your point. Here's yours now. What do you want from me? Should I send a wedding gift?" She seemed taken aback, clearly not expecting me to respond like that. There was a pause. Then she tried again, sounding wounded. "Mia, how can you say that? I didn't mean it like that. We're both women. I don't want you to misunderstand me. Ryan and we've always been pure." "Pure?" I almost laughed out loud. "You call it pure when you call him at midnight because of a stomach ache? When you make him drive you places every weekend? When you make him ditch his girlfriend on their anniversary to come pull out a splinter for you? Pure, huh?" Her silence on the other end only fueled my disgust. "Every post on your social media," I went on, my tone sharp as ice, was full of hints. "Every word designed to show off how much he cares for you. That's not innocence, Emily. That's manipulation. And don't act like I can't see through it. You might fool Ryan, but you'll never fool me. We're both women. I know exactly what kind of game you're playing." The line went completely silent. I could almost picture her face, shocked, speechless, probably burning with embarrassment. "I don't have time for this," I said flatly. If you like Ryan, go after him. He's single now. You two really are a perfect match. But do me a favor. Don't ever bother me again. I wish you both a lifetime of happiness. Glue the key shut and throw it into the ocean for all I care. Without giving her a chance to respond, I hung up and immediately blocked her number. The best way to deal with a manipulative woman like her wasn't to stoop to her level. It was to be bolder, sharper, and completely untouchable. Playing games with people like that only traps you in their web. After that brief irritating distraction, I called a cab back to my apartment. A new laptop, a new job, a new life. That was all I needed now. Everything in my life seemed to be moving in the right direction. I set up my new computer, installed all the design software I needed, and soon after, Miss Taylor sent me the project files. It was a high-end villa design for a very successful client, someone with extremely high standards for quality of life. The following days were a blur. I barely had time to breathe. During the day, I trained with senior designers at the firm and learned about the client's preferences. At night, I studied, sketched drafts, and built models. I was like a dry sponge, desperately soaking up every bit of knowledge I could. My body was exhausted, but my spirit felt strangely fulfilled. The project was progressing smoothly. Some of my ideas even gained initial approval from both Miss Taylor and the client. I noticed her looking at me differently after that, entrusting me with more significant tasks. I could tell I was getting closer to earning a full-time position. That afternoon, while our team was deep in a project meeting, my phone buzzed softly. I glanced down and saw a text from an unknown number. Mia, can we meet? I'm waiting for you at the cafe downstairs. It was Ryan. He had shown up at my workplace. I stared at the message, 100 emotions swirling inside me. It had been almost a month since our breakup. I had thought he'd finally given up. Miss Taylor noticed the color drain from my face and asked, concerned, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said quickly, sliding my phone away. "Let's keep going." By the time the meeting ended, it was almost the end of the day. My coworkers began packing up and leaving one by one. I sat alone for a while, gazing at the glittering city lights through the window, torn over whether I should go down to meet him. My mind told me I shouldn't. There was no point in meeting again. We were over. Nothing good would come of reopening old wounds. But my heart, stubborn as ever, was curious. I wanted to see what he looked like after all this time, wanted to know why he had come. In the end, I picked up my bag and stepped into the elevator. Maybe I needed one last conversation, one final goodbye to close this 5U chapter once and for all. The cafe was quiet, its lights soft and warm. With just one glance, I spotted Ryan sitting in the corner. He looked thinner, his cheeks hollow, dark circles shadowing his eyes. The confident, charismatic man I remembered was gone. In his place sat someone tired, lost, and small. The cup of coffee in front of him was untouched. He just sat there, staring blankly out the window. When I walked over and sat down across from him, he blinked, startled, then straightened up. A fleeting spark lit his eyes when he saw me, but it faded almost immediately. "You came?" he said, his voice uncertain. "Why did you want to see me?" I asked, not wasting time on pleasantries. He rubbed his palms together, looking nervous and uneasy. "I wanted to apologize, Mia. I was terrible before. I took you for granted, thinking you'd always be there. I didn't realize I was draining you until you were gone. Only then did I understand what I'd lost." I listened quietly without interrupting. If he had said those words a month ago, I might have cried from the sincerity in his voice. But now my heart was calm, steady, still. "Have you and Emily cleared things up?" I asked flatly. He looked startled, then hurried to explain. "That day after you slammed the door, I stood in the hallway for a long time. I thought about everything about us. I remembered when we first started dating. You used to eat street food with me, take the subway even when it was packed. I had nothing then, but you never complained. You never looked down on me. Everything that went wrong was my fault, mine alone." He paused, then sighed. "After that, I went to see Emily. I told her that the person I loved was you, and that from now on, we shouldn't contact each other anymore. She didn't take it well. He gave a bitter laugh. She called me stupid, said you weren't worthy of me, and in that moment, I realized she was never as kind or innocent as I thought. I was blind before, Mia, completely blind. I lifted the glass of lemonade the waiter had just brought and took a slow sip. And then what? I asked quietly. So now that you've realized she wasn't good for you, you suddenly remember I'm the better option, I said bluntly. My words seemed to hit him hard. His face froze in shock. No, that's not what I meant, he said quickly. I just want you to know that I was wrong, Mia. I really understand that now. Please give me another chance. Let's start over. I promise I'll always keep my phone on for you 24 hours a day. My time will be yours. I'll never let you feel hurt or neglected again. He reached out, trying to take my hand, but I pulled back. Ryan, I said quietly, but firmly, it's too late. I looked at him, my tone calm yet resolute. A broken vase can be glued together, but no matter how strong the adhesive is, the cracks will always remain. I don't want to live my life waiting for it to shatter again. I paused before continuing. Besides, I'm doing well now. I have a job I love, new goals to work toward. I've realized that without you, my world didn't fall apart. In fact, it's bigger, brighter. I've grown used to being on my own, and I'm actually enjoying it. His hand hung frozen in the air, the hope in his eyes slowly fading into despair. So, you really don't want to give me another chance? It's not that I won't give you another chance, I said softly. I just won't give myself one to repeat the same mistake. I stood up. Ryan, thank you for saying all this today. At least now I know the 5 years I gave weren't entirely meaningless. Take care of yourself. I turned to leave, but he suddenly stood up behind me. Mia, wait. Do you already have someone else? I stopped but didn't look back. Does that have anything to do with you? Just tell me. His voice trembled, a hint of desperation in it. After a few seconds of silence, I said, yes, he treats me very well, better than you ever did. It was a lie, but I knew it was the only way to make him finally let go. Behind me, there was only silence. I didn't turn around. I walked straight out of the cafe. The night air outside was unusually cool. I inhaled deeply, letting the crisp breeze fill my lungs. A strange lightness spread through me. Goodbye, Ryan, I whispered. Goodbye, youth. Goodbye to the 5 stormy years of my life. I didn't go home right away. Instead, I wandered aimlessly along the street, letting my thoughts drift. The meeting with Ryan was like a small stone dropped into a still pond. It didn't create big waves, but it stirred faint ripples in my chest. He said he'd finally seen Emily's true nature, that he realized his mistakes. Did I believe him? Maybe yes, maybe no. But it didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that I no longer loved him. Once love is gone, right or wrong ceases to matter. My steps carried me onto a pedestrian bridge. I leaned against the railing, watching the steady stream of cars below. The city lights shimmered like thousands of drifting stars. Just then, my phone rang. It was Miss Taylor. Mia, where are you right now? She asked, her tone slightly hurried. There's an issue with the design. The client just made a few new requests. Can you come back to the office for a bit? The whole team's still here. Yes, I'll be right there, I replied at once. In an instant, work pulled me out of my tangled emotions. I hailed a taxi back to the company. The office lights were still bright when I arrived. My teammates were gathered around the conference table, the atmosphere tense. The client thinks the design for the second-floor workspace is too plain, Miss Taylor explained as I approached. They want something more creative, more multifunctional. As soon as I walked into the office, Miss Taylor pulled me over. Mia, you've always got great ideas. See if you can come up with something, she said, gesturing toward the floor plan spread out on the table. I leaned in to study the design. The client wanted the second-floor office space to integrate a tea tasting and meditation area while still maintaining a professional workspace. It was a difficult balance, practical yet artistic. My mind began to race. Fragments of what I'd studied in college, concepts, materials, new design techniques, started connecting like sparks in my head. I grabbed a pen and began sketching on the draft paper. What if we use an adjustable platform to divide the area? I suggested, my voice gaining energy as I spoke. When lowered, the platform sits flush with the floor, forming an open workspace. But when raised, it transforms into a closed Japanese-style room with tatami flooring, perfect for tea ceremonies or meditation. We can use soundproof materials for the walls to ensure tranquility and recessed bookshelves to save space. As I spoke and drew, my thoughts became sharper, clearer. Inspiration flowed like a current. I couldn't stop. My teammates began gathering around me, watching intently. I could see Miss Taylor's eyes light up more and more as the concept took shape. When I finally put down my pen, the last line complete, I looked up to find everyone staring at me in admiration. "This is brilliant," one of the senior designers exclaimed. "It meets every client demand, and it's visually stunning." Miss Taylor clapped me on the shoulder, smiling broadly. "Excellent work, Mia. Follow this direction. Create a full 3D rendering tonight. We'll present it to the client first thing in the morning." "Yes, I said confidently. In that moment, a surge of pride and fulfillment welled up inside me, something I hadn't felt in years. Solving a challenge through my own skill and being recognized for it felt more real, more lasting than any gift or compliment I'd ever received. That night, our whole team stayed late to finish the presentation. We ordered takeout, exchanged ideas, and worked side by side with lively energy. I was completely immersed in the work, losing all sense of time and of Ryan. By 3 o'clock in the morning, the render was done. It exceeded everyone's expectations. Miss Taylor stood up and declared, "Once this project is successfully completed, Mia will officially be hired and with double the salary." Applause erupted around the table. My co-workers congratulated me one after another. I smiled, blinking back tears. For the first time, I truly understood. When you pour your heart and passion into yourself, life rewards you in the most unexpected ways. As I stepped out of the office building, the eastern sky was already glowing faintly with the first light of dawn. I yawned, hailed a cab, and leaned my head against the window, watching the city slowly wake up. Suddenly, I remembered the lunchbox I had thrown away on the day of the breakup. There was a time I believed happiness was as simple as cooking a meal for someone you love. But now I knew the truth. Real happiness is using your own hands to build a bright, beautiful world for yourself. The project moved forward smoothly. My multifunctional workspace design received glowing praise from the client, who began to take notice of me, the once unknown intern. In later stages, he personally assigned me to lead several key design elements. With Miss Taylor and my colleagues supporting me, the pressure was intense, but I handled it. And when the project was finally completed, Miss Taylor announced in front of everyone that I was officially hired and promoted to independent designer. That meant from now on, I would be able to take full responsibility for a project from start to finish. I raised my glass and toasted with each of my colleagues in turn. Their words of congratulations and recognition made every sleepless night and all the stress of the past month feel completely worth it. When the party ended, Miss Taylor called me over. "Mia, Mr. Warren, the client for our project, was very impressed with you," she said with a pleased smile. "He's hosting a private cocktail event next week and inviting a number of influential people in the industry. He specifically asked me to bring you along so you can make connections. This will be a great opportunity for your future career." "Thank you, Miss Taylor," I said sincerely. "I'll definitely attend." Gratitude filled my chest. Miss Taylor was the one who had seen my potential and given me the chance to rebuild myself. She was the person who'd helped me find my footing again. When the evening of the cocktail party arrived, I chose a simple, elegant dress that fit perfectly and did my makeup in a natural yet refined style. Even so, when I stepped into the ballroom, I couldn't help feeling a little overwhelmed. The room was filled with some of the most prominent figures in design and business across Southport. I followed Miss Taylor's lead, keeping my posture confident and my smile calm. As soon as Mr. Warren, the client, spotted us, he walked over with a warm smile. "Miss Taylor, I'm so glad you could make it. And this must be your young designer, he said, turning to me. So talented and poised. It's no wonder your work caught my attention. I smiled politely. You're too kind, Mr. Warren. I still have so much to learn. Just then, a figure I hadn't expected to ever see again came into view. Ryan. He was dressed sharply in a tailored black suit, hair neatly styled, holding a glass of wine as he chatted with a small group of guests. The moment his eyes met mine, his body stiffened. Of course, for an event at this level, it wasn't surprising that prominent doctors and specialists from major hospitals would be invited. Still, the coincidence hit me like a jolt. I quickly looked away, pretending not to notice him, and focused on the conversations around Miss Taylor. She introduced me to several senior designers, and I listened intently, absorbing every bit of knowledge and advice. After a while, Miss Taylor was pulled aside by an old friend, leaving me momentarily alone. I took a glass of fruit punch from the bar and found a quiet corner to stand. I had no desire to interact with Ryan, but fate clearly had other plans. He approached me, wine glass in hand, his expression unreadable. What a coincidence, he said. You're here, too. Not a coincidence, I replied coolly. I was invited. He studied me for a moment, his gaze softening. You've changed a lot, Mia. More confident, more radiant. People move forward, I said simply. I didn't want to continue the conversation, but then he asked, so, your boyfriend, the one you mentioned before, he didn't come tonight. I opened my mouth, searching for a polite way to brush off the question, when a calm, steady voice spoke beside me. Her boyfriend's here, the man said with an easy smile. I was just on a call earlier. I froze and turned around in surprise. It was Mr. Warren standing right next to me. I hadn't even noticed him approach. He gave me a quick wink before turning his charming smile on Ryan. Ryan's expression immediately darkened, his eyes flicked between us, his lips parting soundlessly. Mr. Burke. Warren rested a hand lightly on my shoulder, a gesture that was friendly yet deliberate, maintaining just the right professional distance. I'm Warren, he said smoothly. Mia's boyfriend. And you are? Ryan's face went completely pale. I am her ex-boyfriend, he managed to stammer. Mr. Warren raised an eyebrow, a faintly amused smile playing on his lips. Her ex, her? Well, then thank you for not cherishing her when you had the chance. It gave me the opportunity to. I nearly choked on my drink, trying to hide a smile. Ryan stood there frozen, staring at us, his expression a mixture of disbelief, frustration, and complete defeat. From now on, Mr. Warren said coolly, my girlfriend doesn't need you to worry about her. With that, he didn't spare Ryan another glance. He looked down at me, his expression softening into something gentle. Come on, he said. Let me introduce you to a few friends. I nodded and turned to leave with him. I didn't look back, but I could feel Ryan's gaze on my back, sharp and stinging like 1,000 tiny needles. When we reached the other side of the ballroom, I leaned closer and spoke quietly. Mr. Warren, thank you for helping me back there. He smiled, finally letting his hand fall from my shoulder. It was nothing. I could tell you didn't want him lingering around. A woman as talented as you shouldn't be tied down by her past. He paused, then added, his tone softer now. And what I said earlier wasn't entirely a joke. I blinked, caught off guard. Honestly, he continued, I really do admire you, Mia. I wonder if there's a chance I could go from being your pretend boyfriend to a real one. I met his eyes, warm, sincere, a little teasing. My heart, which had been still for so long, suddenly skipped a beat. Then I smiled, not a polite, guarded smile, but a genuine one, bright and light from deep within. Maybe, I said softly, maybe we could start with dinner. Life has a funny way of closing one door only to quietly open another. And love, it never truly disappears. As long as you still have the courage to believe in it, it will always be there waiting for you in a better form than before.